Welcome, folks. It is the 9th of September. We're getting pretty close to fall here again. Anyways, we're going to talk about creatine tonight. I misplaced a couple of documents that I wanted to show on this show, but hopefully I can get them by the time we get back. Be with you in just a moment. As soon as we get through this, I have to apologize, a little bit behind schedule. Okay, anyways, I have to apologize, folks. I had a couple of documents all ready to go for tonight that we're definitely going to add some enlightenment to this discussion. I wanted to talk to you about creatine. Creatine seems to be very much a big topic of discussion. Other than fat loss, to be honest with you, when you go into the Facebook groups, it's pretty much the number one thing talked about. And doing a little bit of research today, I come to find out that it is the most widely used and most marketed supplement, and I'm not talking drugs here, supplement in sports today. So it is a very hot topic. It's been around ever since, I think in sport, it's been around ever since the 1970s. That's when it first became big and some of the benefits are known. Many people still didn't really utilize it all that much, to be honest with you, until now. I don't know. It looks like I'm losing a bit of my screen here. I'm not sure exactly what that's all about, but I'll have to see. I'm fading out. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, seems to be a few things going wrong here tonight. Anyways, yeah. So let's talk about creatine. It is definitely the only, other than protein supplement, it is the only thing that I recommend to any of my clients. I have proven it to within myself and with my clientele that it works. It definitely can help with muscle growth, with strength. It does it through a couple of manners here, and that's exactly why I wanted to bring up those documents today, because it outlined it very concisely exactly what it is that it does. Maybe I can actually, bring up this document here again. If we go into here, I have to see if I'm not sure if I'm still on screen there or not, but I am still here, just so you know. And we are going to go in here and we're going to talk about, I'm going to just type in creatine because I had a couple of documents and they went into a lot more in depth about what exactly it is and how it actually works. So if I can bring this up, I can find out. Yeah, here we go. Let's just go down here. I'm just gonna keep going. What you need to know. Anyways, no, I don't want that. We're gonna keep scratching around here. Hidden truths. There's a lot of garbage out there on about creatine, but that's generally put out there by companies that are marketing a specific product. You'll have to just bear with me here because I'm going to bring this one up here. It's not the best one, not the best one at all, but it does, give you some basic information. Okay, yeah, so it did come out in the 70s. That's when it first began to get used. Let me just see if I can come back on screen here and see what I can do. I'm going to add this to the screen, try and bring it up on big. And this is what I'm looking at here right now for the benefit of you at home. Okay, so it is a non-essential amino acid, just so you know that. I'm going to read off some of those things that get a little bit more technical, then we can talk into its purpose and how we should use it, how I use it in particular, and what I found I get from it, okay? Creatine, just so you know, is produced by the body. It's produced by the liver, by the kidneys, and by the pancreas. 95% of it is actually inside is utilized inside the skeletal muscle, and most of the other 5% is actually used by the brain itself. Most people get a fair amount of, will get approximately 1.5 grams of creatine from their diet. Problem is, you need slightly more than that, and or actually, we get approximately 1.5. I forget what the total amount is created within the body. But when you have a normal, balanced diet, meaning you're not a vegetarian, through things like shrimp and red meat, you will get approximately another 1.5 grams of protein. People who are vegetarians can tend to benefit probably the most from a creatine supplement, because of the fact that they are somewhat deficient on a regular basis. So for them, it's actually imperative that they take a supplement. And what it does is actually it becomes a volumizer. Okay, what it does is actually creates muscle size by thickening the cells. And then what it does is actually it brings in water into the cells. Okay, so that you'll notice many people will find that when they go on creatine, they actually gain weight. And in the very beginning, that in fact is water weight. But with the consistent and persistent use of creatine, it won't just be water. You will actually gain lean muscle mass. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not a replacement for anabolics of any sort. Okay, but it does create a significant effect, and it can have a definite strong bearing on both your strength, muscular size, and even endurance in some regards. Okay. And what it does is actually creates, it becomes the mechanism for energy within the cell. And that's how it works. Basically, through the production of ATP within the cell, it helps in the contractility of the muscle. Okay, and this is what will create growth in the long term. It'll definitely sustain a longer workout, a harder workout, and it's most beneficial in short, intense bursts. So that's, when you want to, if you're contracting your muscle, for example, in the area of sprinting or bodybuilding, of course, or explosive movements like power lifters, it can be significant. Okay, that's where it really shines. The people have, had a lot of concerns about health risks when it comes to creatine. And creatine itself, I read at least 5 different studies today, and I didn't really need to justify it to myself, but I want to have some backup information for the general population. There has not been one study that has ever shown that creatine, without being totally ridiculous in the amounts that you take, that is proven to be in any way hard on your system, or can cause fatality. I mean, I've heard people talk about fatalities, liver disease. You have to understand, creatine itself is actually produced in the liver. It's produced in the kidneys, and it's produced in the pancreas. So there doesn't seem to be a lot of justification for that, and it gets a bad rap. And a lot of people don't believe that it really gives you much of benefit. But the thing is, one thing I did see in these studies was it doesn't take piles of creatine to actually get a strong benefit from it. And they actually say that anywhere in around, up to 5 grams of lean, but even 2 to 2.5 grams a day is more than enough to create a significant change in your muscle hypertrophy. Okay, it is. And you don't need to go to, taking half a cupful every day like some people do. Of course, this is the mindset of bodybuilding, right? We take a hold of something, and then we decide that if a little bit works, well, then we'll take a pile more. Okay? And that's not always the best way to go. So what I'm saying here is use a little bit of common sense. They do talk about, creatine loading, which can be a benefit, which basically means you're going to take anywhere from 5 to 7 days, and you might go as high as 20 to 30 grams in a day. And then from there, you'll go back into a maintenance phase, which would be 5 to 10 grams a day, which is basically how I do it. Okay. I read another study today, and it talked about long-term use, whether it can be used all the time and continually. these are my thoughts on any type of supplement at all, other than, covering your bases, meaning multivitamins, multiminerals, which I don't have a problem with people taking, or as I noted before, B complex and C, because they're water soluble vitamins. I think it's very important to, if you sweat a lot, that maybe you want to, take that along with it. Okay. But creatine, I do believe that you might get more of a benefit if you did it in a cyclic fashion. I myself will not stay on it all the time, but it's not because I'm fearing any type of repercussions medically. It's just that I don't want my body to get too used to it, and I might see more of a benefit if I cycle. Now, I don't mean, go on for a few weeks and then take a few weeks off. I just mean maybe go on for a couple of months and take a week off, and then do some creatine, do some loading again, and then start off on your maintenance levels. Do you need to do that? I don't think you need to do that. I'm just going to mute my mic there just for a second. I have to apologize for that. Anyways, yeah. So maybe cycling might be a good thing. It's not necessary. I haven't seen one study that says it's mandatory. I haven't even seen a study that says the benefit. But in my mind, anything that you take in externally, exogenously, not within your body, is your body can get to a point where it adjusts to it. No different than like an antibiotic. You can have a problem where you need to take a certain antibiotic, but it's still better to cycle it. And I do realize, that's a prescription drug. It's attacking a specific organism. It's not necessarily the exact same thing, but it's the same mindset. And I think that, when you're given it a rest from taking in externally, just keep in mind, it's not that your body is without it. Your body's still making it internally itself. So you're never without. You just might have reduced levels for a shorter period of time. And I would suggest to anybody that they might want to try and play around with that. See what happens. I know for a fact that I didn't take any creatine about a month ago. I didn't take any creatine for almost about 10 days. And then I went back on, and I can tell you, I felt a significant difference in that short period of time. Without a doubt, the creatine was working. I felt fuller. I felt stronger. They also talk about some of the other benefits of creatine are not necessarily all physical. Some of it's psychological. It talks about helping in memory loss, being acute awareness. There's a ton of benefits, and literally tons of studies that have proven this out, that the benefits of creatine are not just labeled to sports enthusiasts. Just anybody in everyday life. It's one of those supplements that might be good for somebody to take on a fairly regular basis. And I do believe, like I said, even if you're not a lifter, you'll get a benefit from taking this supplement. And if I was a non-lifter, I would probably be taking that maintenance dose of 3 to 4 grams a day. It's so easy. I mean, it's micronized. It dissolves so easy. I mean, you could put it into 6-ounce glass of orange juice, mix it up, or water. Well, I put it in with water, but I put in one of those liquid flavors with no calories, no carbohydrates. Apparently, nothing, but at the end of it has a flavor, and and down it. You'll get all the benefits of creatine. It's not going to do any harm to you, and it's also one of those benefits that is dirt cheap. I mean, I can buy myself. I just want to take this off just for a second here. I can buy myself a canister like this big for, I think it's 20-some bucks, and that's creatine monohydrate. There's actually 2 or 3 different forms of creatine that are on the market now. The one thing I found in I believe it's a creatine chloride, hydrogen chloride. I'm not exactly 100% sure on exactly how that's what the actual formulation is, but there's 2 or 3 of them that are out there. There's a nitrate formula of it as well. But in the studies that they've done, they've shown that none of them are really any better than the other than the one formula, which is more soluble. And they do believe, it was thought that because it is more soluble, it would be more efficient and being uptake by the muscle itself, because because it does create an influx of water into the muscle cells and volumizes itself, right? But through these studies, they've shown that it really didn't make any difference in that regard. But what it did do was you could get the same benefit by taking less. Now, as far as the actual cost on that, I don't know. So maybe it kind of works out to be the same, but maybe for those people that are afraid to take, 5 grams a day, they can go down to 2 and get the same benefit. Either way, it's a top-notch supplement to take. Um, I I literally have only 4 or 5 supplements altogether that I use or recommend to my students, and creatine is something I've only really dabbled in the last couple of years, and I started into it in regards to after I got sick in 2016. So in 2018, when I was finally able to be well enough to go back and train, I took a protein supplement for the first time in 20 some years, and I took creatine. And I got to tell you, I put on 30 pounds of pretty solid body weight. It wasn't fat, let me tell you. And I did that in 4 months. I mean, I went into the hospital at 230 pounds. I came out at 169. So a lot is muscle memory. But just the fact that my body could recuperate that much that quickly is basically because, geez, that blue's coming up on my screen again. I have to apologize for that. I'm not sure what's happening here. But anyways, yeah. So anyways, the creatine itself is one of the things, and one of the interesting things that I actually found today. Pardon me if I feel a little bit flustered here today, but I like literally 3 minutes before I came on air, I was dabbling in this document and I was going through some of the points that I wanted to make, and apparently I can't bring it up anymore. But one of the things that creatine does is actually mimics a lot of the drugs they use in the case of like AIDS patients and cancer patients, where they have an increased level of I can't remember exactly what this element is, but they have this certain factor that's elevated in their system, and creatine actually manages to lower this, and that's why it can be of a benefit and has the same result as how they attack people who have AIDS and people who have cancer. These things are muscle wasting diseases. So by using the creatine, they're able to circumvent some of the issues involved with loss of lean muscle tissue in these patients, or delay the process or slow it down, whichever case you might want to look at that. Okay, so how would somebody use this in order to get ready for for competition, for example? A lot of people will combine creatine loading with carbohydrate loading, for whatever type of event they're going into. But I do see the benefit of that if you're getting ready for a bodybuilding show, and especially as a natural. I mean, as a natural, we want to make sure that we're not putting in any type of foreign substance that is designed. It was designed for for something completely different. B, it's legal. C, it's it doesn't do miracles. It basically creates a situation for us where we can get the most benefit out of the work that we're doing. Okay, so creatine to me is morally is a fine, nothing wrong with taking it. Some people will debate that. Some people think that if you don't take, the only way you can call yourself natural is if you don't take any supplementation at all. Well, I don't think that's correct. Cutting agents and anabolics and site enhancement oils and stuff like that. I mean, that's a whole different league of products that people are putting in their bodies. They never were meant for their bodies, and or they're meant for definitely completely different purposes. So I do believe that if you were preparing for a show and you're a natural bodybuilder, it might be just a great thing to be used if you were timing yourself. That I would be doing like a loading cycle approximately the week before the show. And I would do that with carbohydrate loading, and then I would tailor back my water intake on the last couple of days, because it will make use of water within your system. And keep in mind that 75% of your muscle is made up of water. Okay, being careful, because you definitely have to have, you can run into the one side effect that is well known, you can be in a potential situation where you get dehydrated. So playing a fine line with those two things. When you're getting ready for that show, you want to be taking it in, but taking in not so much water that you have that overspill, and create that puffy look. But you want to have enough water in there that it doesn't produce any problems to your kidneys or your liver, which still has to, even though it produces itself, just like any other element that comes into your body, they work as filters, and everything goes through those systems in order to, before they enter into the bloodstream. Okay. So, just keep in mind, don't go crazy. Make sure you're taking enough water and follow the directions. Basically, I've seen 2 or 3 different products and that I've had personally, and then I've looked at them in the store, and they all pretty much will tell you the same thing. They're all recommending about 5 grams a day. They don't really talk about creatine loading, but that's a well-known tactic that many people are using, and I've experimented with myself, and I can say that it works. Creatine loading is something you do want to do. I wouldn't stretch it out for more than 7 days. I would be using that as a prep for a show and as my day-to-day, whether I was into powerlifting or bodybuilding. Um, it has anti-aging qualities as well. Like there are so many things that I didn't realize creatine was good for. I mean, I understood, what it was. I understood that it basically is a source of energy for your muscles, and therefore it allowed your workouts to be more intense or be have stronger contractions. It can help with the recuperation as well. They talk about one thing we haven't touched on here yet is I've had actually a discussion in a couple of Facebook groups about when you're supposed to take this. One of the studies does say that it may be of a benefit. It doesn't say 100%, but it could be beneficial to be taking it right after your workout. But it also leans on the fact that they talk about protein synthesis being at its highest potential within that period after training. And most other studies and myself, I dispute that. I don't believe there's an anabolic window for protein synthesis whatsoever. I don't think you need to wait hours to be eating or anything after. But myself, this is personally how I take it. When I'm not in a maintenance phase, which is for me is 10 milligrams, I actually train early in the morning. So I have just a oatmeal breakfast out the door, and I take my 24 ounces and I fill it with water, and I add 5 grams to that with the the little containers. You can get those square containers of flavoring that have no calories or anything in them. And I take my first 5 grams while I'm training, and I will drink that whole thing while I'm in the process of training. And I train during the HIIT or HIT style. So I'm in there, 1 set per exercise, 3 sets, probably 3 exercises as the normal rule per body part. And I'm done like training in 30, 35 minutes. That's it. So, but I'm going balls to the wall and I'm training, I'm training all out. And then when I head home, which is right after, I'll definitely take in my first protein meal. And then I take my next 5 grams and I will drink that over the next couple of hours. And so I guess in a way, I'm doing what they're saying is most beneficial, but I don't necessarily believe that's the only way to get the maximum benefit out of it. I think it's a good way. It's definitely working. Like I can tell the difference. Like I feel within 2 or 3 hours of finishing training, and I've had my protein meal or 2, and now I've had 2 grams or I've had 10 grams of creatine at this point, and I do believe that I feel the recuperative, even though you don't recuperate in a matter of hours, but my muscles are already feeling fuller. Glycogen stores are building up. Like I don't feel completely worn out and drained, because when you train HIT style, like you're going all out. There's nothing left of you by the time you're finished. So I come home. My regular routine is that quick breakfast, out the door, train. I come back here. I have my protein breakfast, and I lay down for an hour. I personally, that's part of my routine. It's kind of been imposed on me because after I got sick and spent 8 months in the hospital, life changed a bit. I have to take morphine on a regular basis to deal with the pain of the multiple operations that I've been through. And so I take that rest, but when I get up from that rest, like I'm a brand new man. So I have, I've had about 7 grams of creatine gone through me. I got a protein meal, a carbohydrate meal, a little bit of carbohydrate in that second meal as well, and we're going good. So wrapping this all up, creatine definitely. I mean, it's not just me saying it's the best supplement out there, non-steroidal supplement. It's the whole market is telling us that it is the most widely used, most widely distributed supplement that is out there today. It surpasses everything by a mile. Okay, and why is that? Because it works. It will not create, that a gorilla body out of nothing like some anabolics can, with the right people and the right training. But it will make a significant difference if you're persistent with it, just like your training. If you're a natural bodybuilder, you got to be training consistently, persistently, believe in yourself, and do all the factors, correctly. Okay, so you want to be eating properly, training properly, sleeping properly. Take your creatine, create your system, find out for yourself. Maybe you do better if you drink all your creatine before you go to the gym. Maybe if you just take it while you're training, or maybe you only need to take it after. A little bit of experimentation, it will be just fine. And keep in mind, I always say this, your body is fluidly in motion, okay? It's more like creating a therapeutic dose. And that's what the whole idea about creatine loading is, okay? When you do a creatine load, you're maxing out your skeletal muscle capacity to load with creatine and therefore load with ATP. And then you're putting in a maintenance level. That's what a lot of, for users that don't understand, that's what a lot of people do or have to do when they get a prescription drug. They have to get up to what they call therapeutic levels. So once you have that therapeutic level, then you can maintain it with a smaller dose. Now, I know, I mean, anybody that's had to have any drug regime at all will know because they've probably been through this, okay? So do your experimentation, find out what works. Take creatine. If you're an advanced bodybuilder, you know, I'm gonna backtrack just a hair. If you're just a beginner, you can take creatine because people say non-athletes even can benefit from it. So it's hard for me to say don't take creatine because you don't need it. But if you're just looking at it from a muscle production point of view, you can, as a beginner, you will gain muscle if you train properly and smartly without anything. But I would take creatine if I was a raw beginner and somebody said, look, I want to have some type of edge. Can I have some edge? And I'd say, okay, take some creatine. I don't believe you need to take protein powder out the bat, and you certainly don't need to take weight gainer. But if you're an intermediate to an advanced bodybuilder, creatine and a good protein supplement, because at that point you're probably having to consume more calories to get the growth that you need. Clean calories, mind you, and it's very tough to do that on a pure clean protein. It's very tough to stomach enough chicken breast, to be honest with you, to get the required amount. On a 200-pound man, that's 200 grams of protein. That's a lot of chicken. That's like I'm gonna ballpark it, 21 ounces, 22 ounces of chicken. Dry white chicken. That's a lot. So if you can maybe balance that out with some protein, then you'll do fine. So go out there. I hope this benefits you. I am going to, when I get a chance to rework this broadcast, and I'm going to fill in with some of those documentation that I brought up earlier. I have to apologize. I was testing out some new software, which works awesome, but unfortunately, it seemed to misplace where I put some of these documents, and that's why there were some things I really wanted to put into this broadcast, and I missed out on. So I apologize for that. Once again, my name is Perry Larrabee. This is The Way It Is Naturally. I hope all you people go out there and train bull fierce, train naturally. Don't give up. Don't let anybody tell you that you need to take anabolics in order to create a great physique, because you don't. Okay. I hope you follow us on YouTube. Please, like and subscribe to the channel. I could certainly do with your support. I also have a couple of Facebook groups that I'm a member of. And if there's anything that you people want to talk about, the subject matter, whatever, put it in the comments, and we can have a discussion about it. Anyways, for now, have yourself a good evening. Take care, and signing off.